Welcome to the Daily Dose, everybody. As we continue talking about God's love, we are talking this week about letting things go. If God is love, then we can trust God, right? And we can trust that God has our best interests in mind. God sent Jesus to show us God's faithfulness, and God's love frees us to have grace for ourselves and for those around us. So today I want to wonder with you, what would it look like to let go of unhelpful thoughts? Sometimes the most unhelpful thoughts guide what I do. Maybe it's my personality, maybe it's human nature, I'm not really sure. But sometimes I expect the worst without any basis. Anybody else with me? I can think of times when maybe I'll receive a really short text message from somebody. And instead of just picking up the phone, calling that person to find out what's going on, I assume the worst. I assume they're upset with me. And if they're upset with me, who else is upset with me? We question everything when something like this happens. And then it affects our ability to trust. Now, this way of thinking is, first of all, extremely narcissistic when I think it's all about me, but it's also 100% unhelpful. There could be 1,000 reasons why somebody sends a short text message, and it does no good for me to worry and to wonder in my head. But all of us do this, and I think it happens in various situations, right? Our minds are really amazing tools, but sometimes they get away from us. This doesn't mean we should just set our thinking hats aside, so to speak. There are places all over the Bible where God reminds us to use our minds, to think, to be curious, to ask questions, to be informed. But what do we do when our minds cause us to lose trust? Well, the book of Ephesians was written during a time in the early church when there was division. The Jewish and the Gentile followers of Jesus were trying to figure out how they could live together. And Paul wrote them this letter to encourage them and to remind them that through Jesus, because of Jesus, it wasn't always a matter of choosing one thing over the other. Sometimes it was recognizing that Jesus was simply a whole new way of life, was showing an entirely new way of life. So Paul ends his letter to the Ephesians in chapter 6 with these words. He uses imagery of armor. So listen to that as I read. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. So what does this mean when we're thinking unhelpful thoughts? When those thoughts that don't have any basis in truth or reality take over our minds? I think it's a reminder that God has equipped all of us with brand new lenses for life through Jesus. And if God is love, like those new lenses show us, then we lead with love. And if I'm not, and I realize that I'm not leading with love when I make assumptions about people, it doesn't show love to them and it doesn't show love to me. Nowhere in those passages in Ephesians does it say, you won't struggle with unhelpful thoughts. The struggle is real, so to speak. But in that armor imagery, it reminds us that when those unhelpful thoughts sneak in, our faith from God equips us with the strength to resist them. That leading with love is truer to who God is, and it's truer to who we are as well. So this week, ask yourself, where can you let go of those unhelpful thoughts and lead with love instead? Thanks for watching the Daily Dose. We would love for you to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube so you can get updated when more videos are released. And if you're watching on cable or Facebook, be sure to share with a friend. Thanks.